The world economy is in a much better place now compared to a year ago. But Singapore's Deputy Prime Minister Tharman Shanmugaratnam says it is still far from returning to normal growth, especially in advanced economies. And there's too much reliance on central banks to do the heavy lifting. Mr. Tharman says easing monetary policy is the right response for the short term and it reduces the risk of a global catastrophe. But it will also delay the reforms needed to get the global economy back to normal growth.
We know what needs to be done in tax reforms, in labour market reforms, in building up human capital, in redressing imbalances and competitiveness, in allowing new growth industries to emerge in the advanced economies. We know what can be done in the emerging economies. Pension reforms in China, in the older emerging economies.
He points out that governments need to place greater urgency and political capital on fiscal consolidation and structural reforms, yet ensure that these reforms do not curb short-term growth excessively.
Getting back to normal growth is going to require a much greater focus on long-term oriented policies. And that means structural reforms in both the advanced economies and the emerging economies. And it can be done. We do have an opportunity of putting in place reforms that raise the long-term potential of all our economies. We have an important window of no more than a decade to get this right.
In a two-speed global economy, Mr. Tharman says policymakers have to prevent the build-up of asset market bubbles as a result of capital inflows. Meanwhile, he says institutional investors and regional development banks can also explore a potential growth area that's translating large pools of savings towards long-term funding and investment needs without exposing savers to excessive risk.